This today is dedicated to all those in need of new beginnings, to those struggling at the threshold of grief and uncertainty, and to all of our radiant becomings. May it be so. The month of January draws its name from the ancient Roman god Janus. Janus has two faces, one at the front and one at the back of the head. Sometimes the face represents a young man on one side and an old man on the other, with a beard and without a beard. At other times, it has the face of a woman on the front and the face of a man at the back. Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. He, or better, they, to use the non-binary pronoun, protects and honors moments of transition and change, and is called to mark the passage of time so that we may learn from it rather than moving mindlessly onwards. As we enter more fully into the new year, or we begin with the Chinese New Year, like its namesake, the month of January invites us to reflect on thresholds, to look back and ahead, not only to the calendar year, but deeper into the meaning of change in our earthly lives. So today's service is going to be divided into three parts. Part one, at the threshold, in which we will reflect on the need to dwell on the edge and what it means to live in a threshold time. I will lead you in a guided meditation, and you will also be invited to participate, if you want to, in a small ritual to explore your personal thresholds, or our own personal thresholds. Part two, Lost Words on the Threshold of Environmental Change, will reflect on the book Lost Words and what it can teach us about how to approach this time of environmental catastrophe with imagination. And part three, Into the Unknown, Formless and Borderless Dreaming, will bring some thoughts for and from the future, and I won't say too much about what that is yet. I hope that by exploring thresholds together, personal, environmental, and technological, we may be moved to consider what gifts we can bring that may help us in the urgent work of dreaming the world we need for tomorrow. But let's begin by singing our first hymn, 257, Ring Out, Ring In, from the Green Book. So part one, at the threshold. A few years ago, at a Unitarian service, I was introduced to the Year Compass, a free online resource designed to help us take stock of the year that has just passed and to dream about the year ahead. It was developed by clinical psychologists and therapists from Hungary in 2012, and since then, it's been translated in 52 languages and downloaded all over the world. Now, this booklet is not about setting ambitious goals or New Year's resolutions, but about having a quiet conversation with oneself at the threshold of the year to consider, frankly and honestly, what gives us joy, what do we need more of in our lives, and how our imaginations may help lift us from the boundaries and limitations we set ourselves. And I would really invite you all to download it. It's not because it's a marketing scam. It's a very useful tool. It's just a series of questions and prompts, and you can answer them as you wish. But completing the book and taking stock of the past year, I felt that personally for me, it was a stagnant year, full of anxious waiting and fear. American writer Zora Neale Hurston wrote that there are years that ask questions and years that answer them. And I wonder if all of us, after the past 2 years especially, are living in a time of questions, a threshold time. I believe we are. Certainly, we're standing at the threshold of two revolutionary moments: an environmental reckoning upon which the survival of every living organism in this planet is resting, and a technological revolution we can only begin to fathom. So how can we, individual human beings standing on the edge of history, even contemplate taking a step beyond these thresholds? In the face of such radical change and potentially unimaginable suffering and loss, how can we move at all? The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus wrote that it is in changing that we find purpose. And it is also at the thresholds that we discover who we really are. If I think of my own life, the times that I have grown the most and really become myself are the threshold moments where my relationships failed, I lost my jobs, I fell in love, I gave birth to my children. These are dangerous threshold moments, but they're moments where you have to just reckon with what's happening. Change, of course, is always happening, but when change becomes inevitable, when we can feel and see distinct before and after, that is when the god Janus would have been called in to bring his blessings. Thresholds mark danger and promise, hope and despair. It's no accident that all human societies invented rituals to mark moments of change. From birth to death, rituals help us honor and protect the thresholds we face as human beings and as collectives. Many of our institutions and our political systems at the moment feel very fragile and in need of this kind of protection. Perhaps this is because the world has changed so radically around them that they're becoming too small to contain it. Our communities and our congregations, too, need care and time to heal. I think this is true of Brighton Unitarians. I feel you need this sort of a time to reckon with all the changes that you're facing so that you can start anew. To be alive in a time of questions is a deeply vulnerable, frightening, and exhausting experience, but we must resist the urgent desire to act too quickly. Sometimes staying in the uncomfortable space between, sitting with discomfort, with unknowing, is what is needed. But we don't have to do it alone. So now, allow me to digress a moment with a really random metaphor from the natural world. Crabs at several points. No, sorry. I love crabs. They're beautiful animals. So crabs at several points in their lives outgrow their shells, and they have to wander the ocean as vulnerable, extremely edible creatures. Leaving their old shells behind, they become diaphanous, soft beings that must allow time for their new shells to harden. First, they hide and they take oxygen in to help them expand their muscles and gather nutrients. But then, in their soft state, They gather in large clusters together. Floating one on top of the other, they become a single entangled tower, which by its confusing mass deters predators and protects them all. If we are to face the future and cross the dangerous thresholds ahead of us as a species, and indeed as Unitarians, we must sit together with our vulnerabilities and allow for this time of change to ripen and take its course. We must soften the boundaries between each other, recognizing that we belong to each other and to the natural world of which we are a part. So today, before we can even begin to think of those two other thresholds, the big ones, the environmental and the technological, which I've mentioned, I think it's important to go within and honor our own personal changes. So today I'm going to guide you in a meditation and a little ritual to honor these changes and transformations and the feelings that you may be feeling most keenly about the changes in your life this morning. The Irish poet and theologian John O'Donoghue invites us to ask ourselves at any moment, really not just at New Year, but at any moment. He asks, at which threshold am I now standing? At this time in my life, what am I leaving? Where am I about to enter? What is preventing me from crossing my next threshold? What gift would enable me to do it? So maybe think of those questions for a moment. Which threshold are you standing? What are you leaving? Where are you about to enter? What is stopping you from crossing? And what gift would enable you to do it? So let's now begin by finding a comfortable seated position with your back straight and your feet planted firmly on the ground. If it's comfortable, close your eyes and take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with air, like those crabs in the sea. Hold the breath for a moment and then slowly exhale. And repeat this in your own time, allowing your body to relax and release any tension. And now imagine that you're standing at a threshold. This threshold could be a doorway, a gate, or a bridge. Allow it to represent a transition from one place to another and a change in your life. Take a moment to reflect on what this threshold represents for you today. Is there a change you know you need to make? An obstacle that is stopping you from living better? If you feel hesitant about crossing it, what are you afraid will be on the other side? What can't you let go of? As you stand at this imaginary threshold, take notice of your feelings. Whatever comes up for you, allow those feelings to be there without judging them. Now decide within yourself whether you're ready to cross this threshold or not. You may want to imagine yourself opening the door or crossing the bridge or going through the gate if you imagined it. And take a few moments to stand in the place in between if you're not quite ready. And then allow yourself to explore any feelings that come up in that act of crossing. I'm now going to... Sorry. I'm going to be passing around some little doors that my children and I have made for you today. And I'm really sorry, but I don't have enough for everyone. You're more than I expected. I've made some last minute ones, so they're not drawn. And I'd ask you to pick one that may symbolize this threshold that you've been reflecting on. And ask yourself, wait, I'll first pass it around. And you just choose one that speaks to you. And once you have the little door, but even now, you can ask yourself, what is your deepest threshold? What have you outgrown that you must now face? What holds you back? This threshold can hold your darkest fears or your more secret hopes. It can be a promise of transformation. It can be an intention, or it can be a reckoning, a change you know you need to make in your life. So just take one of those little doors and pass it around. And if you can kind of ritually put your threshold feelings into this tiny little piece of paper. So, and I invite you, if you wish to stand and place your little door on this altar as a symbolic gesture of crossing your threshold. This is if you feel like it's important to ritually mark. If you've made the decision to cross and you want to share it with us, you can bring it here. You're welcome to bring the little door in silence or to share anything you want to tell us about this threshold that you may be crossing. And if you don't feel ready to cross, you can take the little door home and keep it safe. May it be a reminder of the loving presence of this community and give you courage in your crossing or in your letting go whenever you're ready for it. So if people feel they want to ritually mark the threshold, please come forward and offer it to our altar. You can do it in silence. And if you like the little door and you want to take it home, you can do the ritual and still take it home later. Sorry, you're more people than I expected, so this might take a little while before you get your little door. So if anyone is ready to share threshold moments, you can bring them here. Maybe Kathy can play for us in the meantime. you want to share something, just stay here for a moment and we'll speak after the music. Thank you. And anyone is very welcome to speak about their crossing if they want to share it, if it's not private, or else we can imagine that these are open doors now and that you've crossed to the other side.
For me, the threshold is passing from one phase of life into another, and it's a big threshold. So I'm going to draw my dog.
Thank you. Thank you very much. For all of your thresholds, blessed be. For Longing by John O'Donoghue. Blessed be the longing that brought you here and quickens your soul with wonder. May you have the courage to listen to the voice of desire that disturbs you when you have settled for something safe. May you have the wisdom to enter generously into your own unease, to discover the new direction your longing wants you to take. May the forms of your belonging in love, creativity, and friendship be equal to the grandeur and the call of your soul. May the one you long for you. May your dreams gradually reveal the destination of your desire. May a secret providence guide your thought and nurture your feeling. May your mind inhabit your life with the sureness with which your body inhabits the world. May your heart never be haunted by ghost structures of old damage. And may you come to accept your longing as divine urgency. May you know the urgency with which God longs for you. So let's sing our second hymn, 259, The Eternal Now, from the Green Book. Part 2, Lost Words. The song you heard at the very beginning, which I don't know if you could hear it completely, it had some bird song at the start, but then was called The Lost Words Blessing. And it's based on a children's book written by Robert McFarlane called The Lost Words. The book was a response to the removal of words like otter, lark, wren, conker, and catkins from the Oxford Dictionary for Children because they were not being used often enough. These lost words were replaced by more technological words as children's everyday lives have become increasingly less connected to nature. McFarlane's book, with its beautiful illustrations by Jackie Morris, and I'm going to show them to you in a second, is a lyrical attempt at reconnecting children to those lost words, and therefore also to the animals, plants, and insects that are all around in the UK landscape, but that are under threat. In gold letters that form acrostic poems, the lost words become magical spells aimed at enchanting children in the present. But many of the lost words are also lost because the animals, plants, and insects they describe are actually on the verge of extinction. So every other species in the book, for example, the lark, which was a very common bird in England, is now really under threat. And just talking about birds, as in the song you hear, the bird song, 43% of bird species alone in Britain are in danger of going extinct. Lost Word is a book that holds us on the threshold. It mourns and honors and celebrates what we have partially already lost, but also refuses to accept erasure and creates a new way for us to move forward together. What I love about Lost Words is not just its singular beauty as a book, but how, in its simple eulogy and elegy to the natural world that we all belong to, it has become capacious enough to hold so much more than just the lost words it cites. Classical and folk musicians and composers have adapted and are adapting the book to song, like the one I played for you. Spoken word artists have performed it all around the world, and all kinds of community groups have taken up reciting it in public squares and in protest. They've sewn quilts and painted their own versions of the illustrations. One generous donor ensured a copy would reach every primary school in Scotland, including those in far-off islands and tiny villages. Lost Words opens the heart and the space for community and conversation because it is not afraid to name the loss we are all facing. It makes it our collective loss, but it sings it, spells it, chants it, draws it for us. Perhaps we should listen to the song again, and I'll show you the illustrations as it goes along. It's very hard for all of you to see, but you'll get a sense of how the book works. Gold. Children love gold. It says, once upon a time, words began to vanish from the language of children. They disappeared so quietly that at first almost no one noticed, fading away like water or stone. The words were those that children used to name the natural world around them with. Acorn, adder, bluebell, rambler, conker, gone. Fern,
enter the wild with care, my love.
And then you see the lost words. They're lost in the landscape.
Let new names take and root, thrive and grow.
Acorn.
And if
as you travel far from heather, crag, and river, may you, like the little fisher, set the stream alight with glitter. May you enter now as otter, without falter, into water. Look to the sky with care, my love, and speak the things you see. Let new names take a root and thrive and grow. And even as you journey on, past dying stars exploding, like the gilded one in flight, leave your little gifts of light. And in the dead of night, my darling, find the gleaming eye of starling, like the little aviator, sing your heart to all dark matter. Walk through the world with care, my love, sing the things you see. Let new names take a root and thrive and grow. And even as you stumble through Macher sands eroding, let the fern unfurl your grieving, let the heron still your breathing, let the silky swim you deeper, oh my little silver seeker. Even as the hour grows bleaker, be the singer and the speaker, and in city and in forest, let the larks become your chorus. And when every hope is gone, let the raven call you home. As we enter into this time of catastrophe, of species extinction, we must enter the world with care and let new words take root and thrive and grow. We must recognize the change in our environment and leave our little gifts of light where we can. We must let the fern unfurl our grieving, let the heron still our breathing. We must recognize ourselves as belonging to this delicate world that is so threatened. Like the half-seal and half-human selkie creatures of the old folk tales, we must remember our animal natures. And even as the hour grows bleaker, we must become the singer and the speaker, because it is our stories, our shared imagination, that are going to allow us to dream the radical new world that is begging to come into being if we are to survive. So let's sing our third hymn, number 10, from the Purple Book. Lost by David Wagoner. Stand still. The trees ahead and bushes beside you are not lost. Wherever you are is called here, and you must treat it as a powerful stranger, must ask permission to know it and be known. The forest breathes. Listen. It answers. I have made this place around you. If you leave it, you may come back again, saying, here. No two trees are the same to raven. No two branches are the same to wren. If what a tree or a bush does is lost on you, you are surely lost. Stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. So part 3, into the unknown. There comes a time when thresholds are suddenly crossed for us, and we find ourselves in a new landscape which is completely unknown. In recent weeks, much has been written and said about the open access AI ChatGPT, and maybe some of you have tried it. At UCL, where I teach, we're already pulling our hair out at how our students will be able to use it to write their essays for them, and there is a lot of fear and catastrophic thinking around it. So we're really worried. It is actually possible for the AI to answer university-level questions. They still won't get a first, but they will pass, which is alarming. So if you haven't heard of it, ChatGPT is a natural language processing tool driven by AI technology that allows you to have human-like conversations with a chatbot. If you ask it questions, really difficult questions, it will answer in a language that sounds like a human is on the other side. I asked ChatGPT to create a Unitarian guided meditation on thresholds, and the meditation we just practiced wasn't written by me, but by the AI. You might have felt that there were some kind of clanky moments, but you probably didn't notice. One of my heroes, the poet and theologian, Padre Gotuma, also Stephen's hero, yes, Padre, we love you, sorry, is fond of the line from David Wagoner's poem Lost, which says, wherever you are is called here, and you must treat it as a powerful stranger. I asked ChatGPT to explain it, and this is what he said. It said, I'm already, they said. Here, this is really the AI speaking. I haven't edited it. Here refers to the present moment, and treating it like a powerful stranger means that one should approach it with respect and attentiveness. It suggests that we should not take the present moment for granted, but rather view it as an opportunity to learn and grow. By treating the present moment as something new and unfamiliar, we can be more mindful and present in our experiences rather than being caught up in the past and worrying about the future. This is the words of ChatGPT, I promise you. So this inanimate computer system gave me an answer that can also be an answer to our discussion about thresholds, about becoming mindful about change and the passage of time. At the threshold, we should encounter the present and the future and treat them as powerful strangers. We should be open and curious. And as Padre Gotuma says, we should say hello. ChatGPT is here. But if we move our hearts and our minds and our creativity towards it, rather than trying to resist it, we may just find wondrous answers beyond its threshold. In the voice of the AI, just as when we journal for the year compass, when we recite the lost words or share songs and stories and sermons here, we stand at the creative edge between language and understanding. There's an intellectual side to it, a kind of cognitive side, yes, but there's also a deeper side. When we find words that speak to us and move towards them, that is the place where in the heart, where transformation really occurs. There's mystery to the way in which, by moving towards understanding, we also move away from self and into a space of spiritual change in which all borders dissolve. So it's in language that we find this borderless, thresholdless space, and have a conversation. I can't explain exactly what I'm trying to say with this. It's something about beyond language. So just think about it. Has it happened to you when words have come to you almost serendipitously, and they have vibrated within you, even when their meaning was even obscure, even when you didn't quite understand them, but there's something about that, the words and how they inhabit the space within yourself and your body that somehow speaks to some deeper part of you. And it is, I think, at these moments that we find that we are not lost, but we can intuit a place of infinite belonging, which is always there beyond the threshold of language and thought. I think that's what God might be. And it's by moving towards, daring to be transformed, that we can experience this deeper encounter with the mystery of our lives and the beauty of our complicated and troubled world. So I leave you now with a blessing created by ChatGPT. May you find peace in the present and hope for the future. May your spirit be unbreakable and your heart be open to all. May you have the wisdom to know what you can control and what you cannot. May you find the courage to let go and to embrace the unknown. May you find beauty and growth in the journey of facing the unknown. Blessed be. Thank you. And thank Kathy for your beautiful playing. Are there notices?
Sorry, it doesn't feel quite right to stand up here, but I'll do it. Thank you very much, Eleanor, for that very